everything's fake. It's weird. And so it's like, this is the clearest, like, fixed fight you're ever going to see. Look at this. That looks so fake.
What just happened?
He hit him with the left.
I know.
But watch it again. Let's watch
it.
it again. Look at this guy holding his hands up and watch. Watch this. He, like, literally shows him his chin.
And just goes, like,
and he goes down. So nuts, right? Just the fact that he's willing to fight the two-time heavyweight champion, former Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
A guy who's gigantic in his pride, built like a Greek god.
Yeah.
And you're going to stand, and he's a one-punch killer. And you're going to stand in front of that guy. And he avoided shots till the 6th round. He just started getting tired.
Well, when you're on a platform like Netflix that turns one-part episodes into a 6-part series, why would you think that part of their entertainment model is to have a 30-second fight?
The internet just went into full meltdown after a jaw-dropping claim surfaced on the latest Joe Rogan podcast, and it involves Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. And if this is even remotely true, it changes everything we thought we knew about this fight. According to explosive comments now blowing up across social media, Anthony Joshua allegedly revealed that Jake Paul tried to bribe him before their matchup, and the request that came with it left fans stunned. This wasn't some offhand rumor, this was a behind-the-scenes conversation that's now forcing people to question the entire legitimacy of influencer boxing. Once again, Joshua's words have reignited a storm of accusations that just won't go away, claims that some of Jake Paul's biggest, most hyped fights may be less about real competition and more about carefully scripted business deals. And now the combat sports world is facing the question nobody wants to ask, but everybody's thinking, was any of it ever real? Are we watching true competition, or just million-dollar entertainment disguised as sport? Because if these claims are true, the entire influencer boxing era might be built on something very different than we were told.
Done better is a lot of things, 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron, is fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you that, Jake, what's going to happen? I'm going to see a time when I'm going to take your soul, and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter. So I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start, but as we saw tonight.
Now, one thing about Joe Rogan, he doesn't dance around what he sees. While he stopped short of throwing out direct accusations that could land him in legal hot water, he made it very clear that he doesn't fully buy the realism of this matchup. Over and over, Rogan pointed to the massive imbalance in experience, power, and ring IQ. On one side, you've got a former heavyweight champion who's been battling elite competition for years. On the other, a YouTube star still finding his footing in professional boxing. And here's where it got real interesting. Rogan suggested that if Joshua had stepped into that ring with one goal to finish the fight as fast and as brutally as possible, it probably wouldn't have lasted long at all. We're talking a couple of rounds. Maybe less, but instead of ending quickly, the fight stretched on. And that opened the door to a much bigger conversation. Rogan pointed out how modern combat sports are being reshaped by entertainment platforms and massive paydays, where stretching a fight out, building drama, and maximizing spectacle can be more profitable than simply knocking someone out. In today's fight economy, the knockout isn't always the priority. The show is. And that shift may explain a lot more than just this one matchup. It points to something much bigger happening across the entire combat sports world right now. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info.
Like a basketball player.
But the thing is, he knocked Nate Robinson
He knocked him
dead.
the fuck out.
And it's the way he did it that I was trying to tell people. I'm like, no. That was skillful. So, like, there's like boxing matches where you see two guys just slugging it out. One guy lands a punch, and he landed a good punch. What Jake did is he slid back and landed a punch. Yeah. It's like the athleticism along with the intelligence, the technique. I'm like, he's not even doing it that long. And he's also hyper-competitive, even though he's wealthy. Yeah. You know, like you would assume that wealth would take away your drive for competition.
It hasn't,
He's also nuts, right? Just the fact that he's willing to fight the two-time heavyweight champion, former Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
A guy who's gigantic in his prime, built like a Greek god.
Yeah.
And you're going to stand, and he's a one-punch killer. And you're going to stand in front of that guy, and he avoided shots.
And then it got even crazier. Simon Jordan poured gasoline on an already raging fire by saying out loud what a lot of fans were quietly thinking: Anthony Joshua could have knocked out Jake Paul at virtually any moment during that fight, and chose not to. According to Jordan, this wasn't about boxing standards anymore. It was about business standards. He argued that Joshua's power, timing, and years of elite-level experience were so far beyond Paul's current ability that a first or second round knockout would have completely killed the spectacle and worse, wrecked the streaming numbers Netflix was banking on. So instead, the fight needed to breathe. It needed rounds, it needed tension, it needed manufactured drama. Not for competition, but for content. Jordan didn't present hard proof or insider documents, but his comments hit a nerve because they echoed what many fans already feel deep down. Once streaming giants and massive paydays step into the ring, entertainment quietly starts taking priority over competitive reality. And that leaves viewers walking away with one uncomfortable question: did we just watch a real fight, or a very expensive performance?
Posted on Twitter after the fight: jaw broken, heart and balls intact. That's a good thing. Time to rest, recover, and return to cruiserweight. I mean, he's coming out of it as if, well, yeah, I got battered in the end, but boy,
That's what he will do. I mean, it depends what you think this was. I mean, I never felt it was anything other than entertainment. I'm not surprised that it... I mean, Anthony Joshua could have knocked Jake Paul out anytime he wanted to. He didn't want to.
So why didn't he?
Because, well, when you're on a platform like Netflix that turns one-part episodes into a 6-part series, why would you think that part of their entertainment model is to have a 30-second fight? Why? You watch a Netflix series, you can watch it and you can go, well, I get the gist of it. Why have you got to turn it into 10 episodes? Because I'm dying with boredom after episode.
Are you telling me that Netflix probably emphasised, listen...
Chael Sonnen didn't sugarcoat a single word. When he broke down the fight, his verdict was brutal and final: that was not boxing. Period. From Sonnen's perspective, someone who truly understands what championship-level combat looks like, what fans watched only looked like a real fight on the surface. Sure, it had the ring, the gloves, the rounds, the referee, all the visuals were there, but the substance, the danger, the urgency, gone. Sonnen explained that real boxing is built on constant threat, the feeling that a single mistake can end everything in an instant. That invisible pressure is what separates a true fight from a staged spectacle. And in his eyes, that pressure never existed here. The pacing felt controlled. The restraint felt intentional. The entire tone felt manufactured. Not like two fighters trying to hurt each other, but like a carefully produced exhibition, the kind you'd expect at a charity event. He didn't directly accuse anyone of fixing outcomes or scripting results. But he didn't need to. His message was clear: when elite fighters look fully capable of ending a bout at any moment, yet repeatedly choose not to, the event stops being competition and starts becoming entertainment disguised as sport. And he closed with a line that says it all: that was not a boxing match. That was something else entirely.
Paul had a very healthy fear for his life while he was in there. He was running away. He was trying to get distance. Then he was trying to step in to win this contest. And then he's trying to get out of the way so that he doesn't get hurt again. He was fighting. He's got to go forward. So now he's clenched him. Now he's dropping down to his knees. He's going below the waist. He's getting a double leg position. Jake was fighting for his survival. You could see that this animal who's been caged and is just trying to make it through. It was incredible. And any boxer that wants to say, well, that wasn't high level boxing, go ahead. I won't argue with you. But any human that says that wasn't a...
After the fight finally ended, Anthony Joshua was surprisingly honest and reflective about his actual performance in there, saying that while he technically got the job done with that 6th-round knockout that everyone saw, he genuinely didn't feel it was his best showing by any stretch, and he believed he could have performed much better than he did. Joshua admitted pretty openly that he needed to do better because he struggled early in the fight to land clean shots consistently, and he couldn't corner Jake Paul as quickly as many experts and fans had expected him to, given the massive difference in their skill levels. He called it a win, sure, but specifically not a success in terms of his own standards, and he really emphasized that he still has a lot of improvement ahead of him if he wants to get back to championship level. It was actually a pretty humble take, considering he just knocked out one of the most talked about fighters in the world right now.
Yeah, in awe of the fact that you do what you do.
I mean, it's not that hard to get your ass beat. I won 2 rounds and then I got dropped. But it was a great experience. Like, I learned a lot in there. But I had him wobbled at one point.
He hit you in the face, and not only did you not get knocked out, you dropped and said, wow.
Wow, that was nice. I was on the ground. I was like, that was a good shot.
Did he surprise you with his power?
He surprised my jaw. It's literally snapped. It's
What,
like
you-
a baseball in there. But yeah, I mean, I told everyone, though, that I would do better than Francis and that Francis kind of got no chin.
So
Francis low-key soft.
the
I think
And this is where Jake Paul's marketing genius really shows. Even after getting knocked out, he didn't waste a single second feeling sorry for himself. The moment the Anthony Joshua fight ended, Jake flipped the spotlight straight onto his next target, and it was a wild one. He boldly called out Francis Ngannou, former UFC heavyweight champion and arguably the scariest puncher in all of combat sports. In a post-fight interview that clearly wasn't improvised, Paul laid it all out. He said he's ready to test himself against the most dangerous men in the game, signaling a clear strategic pivot away from influencer boxing and toward MMA crossover mega fights, where the real money and attention live. This wasn't empty trash talk. It was calculated. He used the massive spotlight from the Joshua bout to instantly rebrand himself, positioning his name next to one of MMA's most feared knockout artists and keeping himself welded to the headlines. Social media exploded. Some fans were intrigued. Others were flat-out skeptical, questioning whether Paul could survive Ngannou's elite striking power and the wrestling foundation he built over years in the UFC. But from a business perspective, it's another perfectly timed move. The fight represents weeks of non-stop headlines, massive pay-per-view numbers, and another chance to push his brand deeper into mainstream combat sports, continuing his proven pattern of high-risk, high-reward matchups that deliberately blur the line between spectacle and sport and keep people watching, arguing, and buying.
For me, in my opinion, I think it's scripted a little bit because, of the weight difference, and, Joshua's a former, champion. And also, he's current, he's active, and this is going to be the first time that we see Paul, fighting an active fighter. We seen the Mike Tyson, that was all fun, that was cute, it's fun and games and stuff, but now you're dealing with a real professional, and so we'll see how it ends up like I said, I think it's scripted, but, we're going to see. At the end of the day, I just want everybody to have fun. I want them to enjoy themselves because we risk our lives for others' entertainment and just go home safely to be able to have memories and say we did it.
Deontay Wilder didn't hold back. When he reacted to the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul matchup, he called it one of the strangest and most confusing spectacles in modern boxing history, and coming from a former heavyweight champion that carries serious weight. Wilder said he was genuinely stunned that a fighter like Joshua, a man who has battled elite killers at the highest level of the sport, would even agree to step into the ring with a social media influencer. He openly questioned the competitive legitimacy of the fight and the real motivation behind it. Sure, he admitted there's entertainment value. And yes, the money is massive. But from a real boxing perspective, from someone who's lived in championship trenches, the matchup felt completely unnatural. Wrong. Wilder pointed to the enormous gap in skill, experience, and raw knockout power between the two men, a gap that can't be ignored if you truly understand the sport. And then he went a step further. He hinted that Joshua's strategy and overall approach may have been shaped by forces far beyond competition itself, things like media exposure, streaming platform expectations, and business incentives, rather than the pure goal of proving who the better fighter actually was. A brutal assessment, and one that's reigniting the uncomfortable question boxing fans can't stop asking: did we just watch a fight, or a business production dressed up as one?